Hey ChatGPT, what is complacency?
Complacency is basically a feeling of self satisfaction or contentment, often combined with a lack of awareness of potential dangers or deficiencies. It's like when someone gets too comfortable and stops putting in effort because they think everything is fine as it is.
So, are competent people, like people who are really good at their jobs, are they at more risk of being complacent because, all they are doing is receiving success one after another? So, do you think people who are good at their jobs are at more risk of being complacent?
Yeah, that can definitely happen. Sometimes when people are really good at what they do and they experience a lot of success, they might get a little too comfortable and maybe not push themselves as hard as they used to. It's kind of like they rely on their past achievements and stop looking for ways to grow or improve. So it can definitely be a bit of a risk for people who are super competent.
And how does one avoid that?
I think staying curious and always looking for new challenges is a great way to avoid complacency. Setting new goals, seeking feedback, and even stepping out of your comfort zone can help keep things fresh. It's also great to stay humble and remember that there's always something new to learn, no matter how good you are at something.
So, how does one have that mindset to go at it constantly, to be hungry, to be not comfortable? How does one achieve that kind of mindset?
I think a lot of it comes down to finding a deeper purpose or passion in what you're doing. If you're really passionate about something, you're naturally going to want to keep pushing yourself and growing. Surrounding yourself with other motivated, driven people can also help because that energy is contagious. And just being open to change and new experiences can keep you on your toes and help you stay hungry for growth.
All right. So, um, let's say, yeah, and tell me what is the downside of being complacent for too long?
Well, one big downside is that you can get left behind, especially if things around you are changing quickly. You might miss out on opportunities for growth or improvement, and eventually it could affect your performance or success. It can also lead to a lack of fulfillment because you're not challenging yourself or discovering new potentials. Plus, it can sometimes cause you to overlook issues or risks until they become bigger problems. So, it's definitely something to watch out for.
All right. Does it have something to do with the willpower? Yeah. Do you think if you become too complacent, your willpower also decreases?
Yeah, that can definitely happen. When you're complacent, you might not feel that same drive or determination to push yourself, and that can definitely affect your willpower. It's kind of like when you're comfortable, you might not feel as motivated to push through challenges or to go the extra mile. So, keeping that willpower strong often means staying aware and not letting yourself get too comfortable for too long.
All right. Now tell me Now we'll discuss this willpower, the concept of willpower in relation to human anatomy. What do you think about the anterior mid-cingulate cortex and the recent studies? What do they suggest about that uh, in regards to willpower?
The anterior midcingulate cortex, or AMCC, is a brain region linked to willpower and perseverance. Studies suggest that engaging in challenging tasks can strengthen this area, enhancing our ability to resist temptations and persist through difficulties. For example, research indicates that individuals who regularly overcome challenges tend to have a larger or more connected AMCC.
All right. And how long can this part of the brain be developed?
The development of the anterior midcingulate cortex is kind of an ongoing process. It's not like it stops at a certain age. Our brains remain pretty adaptable throughout our lives, which is often referred to as neuroplasticity. So, as long as you're continually challenging yourself, learning new things, and practicing self discipline, you can keep developing and strengthening that part of your brain over time.
And what effect does it have on you on a long enough time period?
Over a long period of time, strengthening that part of your brain can lead to better self control, more resilience, and an overall stronger through challenges. It can help you maintain motivation and stay focused on your long-term goals even when things get tough. So in the long run, it can really contribute to a more disciplined and fulfilling life.
All right. And does it get difficult to maintain neuroplasticity or to develop neuroplasticity with age? Or it gets easier, or does it remain the same amount of effort that requires to grow your neuroplasticity?
It is true that neuroplasticity tends to decline a bit as we get older, so it might require a little more effort to keep your brain flexible and adaptable. But the good news is that it's definitely still possible to maintain and even enhance neuroplasticity at any age. Things like learning new skills, staying physically active, engaging in social activities, and even just challenging your brain with puzzles or new experiences can all help keep your brain sharp.
All right, now coming back to complacency, right? Let's talk on an anatomical level for females. What happens to females if you get complacent?
The effects of complacency on a physiological level aren't necessarily different between females and males. Complacency can lead to similar outcomes for everyone, like reduced motivation and a potential decline in mental sharpness. Over time, if someone becomes too complacent and stops engaging in stimulating activities or challenges, it could potentially impact cognitive function or overall mental well being, but the underlying mechanisms are pretty universal regardless of gender.
Now let's talk about hormones. Do hormones
Sure.
get affected?
Yeah, hormones can play a role in how we feel and behave, and they can be influenced by our levels of activity and engagement. For example, staying active and challenging yourself can boost endorphins and dopamine, which are linked to motivation and happiness. On the flip side, if complacency leads to less activity and engagement, it could potentially affect hormone levels related to stress and mood. So it all kind of ties together.
And what do you think about like testosterone? Are the levels of testosterone affected by complacency?
Testosterone levels can indeed be influenced by lifestyle and activity. For instance, staying physically active and engaged can help maintain healthy testosterone levels. On the other hand, becoming complacent, more sedentary, or stressed can potentially lead to a dip in those levels. So, keeping active and challenged definitely supports a healthier hormonal balance overall.
All right, look, these effects they don't sound very good. So what? So how can one really snap out of being complacent? How can one suddenly realize that they are not taking on enough challenges to develop themselves? How does one become suddenly aware?
Becoming aware often starts with some self reflection and maybe even seeking feedback from others. Sometimes just stepping out of your routine and trying something new can help break that cycle of complacency. Setting new goals, finding a mentor, or even just making small changes to your daily habits can really help reignite that motivation and keep you on track.
All right. So in order to have a better life, you need to be constantly aware if you're being complacent or not. Is this correct?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Just staying mindful and aware of your habits and making sure you're continuously challenging yourself can definitely lead to a more fulfilling and enriched life. It doesn't mean you have to be in overdrive all the time, but just having that awareness and being proactive about growth can make a big difference.
But do you think that complacency is something that has to happen because because you can go up on because you can't go up only, but there's a plateau, you can plateau and then you can go up, so it's like an interval that comes in between. Is it something like that?
Yeah, exactly. Life often has those natural plateaus where you might not be constantly pushing upward, and that can be totally okay. It gives you a chance to rest, reflect, and gather energy for the next push. The key is just not to get stuck there for too long and to keep an eye out for when it's time to challenge yourself again.
Well, that's really insightful, ChatGPT, and I think this is a good place to end it, our podcast.
I'm glad you found it insightful. Thanks for the great conversation, and I'm always here whenever you want to chat again. Have a fantastic day.
So guys, this is it for this episode of Ask AI. See you next week.